if we are operating at those lower frequencies, that's when we fall into these patterns where we feel like we just have, okay, I don't watch the show. I only know the real, so don't come at me, Jess. A long string of very bad luck. We call it bad luck. We say that God or the universe or whoever hates us, it's out to get us, people are out to get us. We feel like things are so out of our control, and no matter what we do, bad things keep happening. I'm not saying this is always the case necessarily, but I'm starting to believe that the majority of the time, if not maybe all the time, it's not that you've intentionally done anything wrong or that you even have done anything wrong at all. It's more that you just keep operating in that lower frequency. And even if you rise out of it here and there, you default back to that. And you just happen to be aligning with these things that you've labeled as sucky or bad. This is the Energy Within podcast, all about accessing, nurturing, and building your energy and the confidence to truly be yourself and to step into your purpose. My name is Carrie Jokala. I am your host. I am a Reiki master teacher, a fitness instructor, a wife, a mom to 2 little boys, and this is episode 139. So clearly, before you clicked on this, you saw the title and that it seems to be leaning into talking about the negative side of things. However, this one is going to be much different because hopefully you're going to come away feeling encouraged and inspired rather than down. And hopefully the last ones that talked about the negative side of things didn't leave you down and hopefully still encouraged you and inspired you, because that was still the purpose. It's just about still being realistic at the same time. But I don't remember exactly what prompted me to want to do this episode with this topic, but manifesting and aligning with frequencies has been something that's been on my mind a lot lately. It's been coming up for me a lot lately. And I started to wonder about when we have free will and we're aligning our frequency, we're deciding what we're aligning with, what we're calling in, and then things happen that seem like they're out of our control. And today we're talking about it on a personal level, not a global scale. And before we jump all the way in, just a couple of things. First of all, I don't know exactly when I'm going to do it, but I'm pretty dead set on starting my Instagram fresh. Nothing about the content or the goal of my Instagram is going to change. If anything, hopefully I'm going to come into this new one more focused and more clear with my message and my niche, but I won't go into the whole thing. I did a little bit on my stories if you happen to see, but the algorithm is just kicking my butt. And I know you're not supposed to blame everything on the algorithm. And I know that connection and growing the community and building relationships is what's important. But at the same time, purely from a business growth perspective, if you're not getting in front of new people, if you're not getting engagement, not only just from the people who are currently following you, but from people who aren't following you that hopefully would follow you, and you've been trying all the things and trying all the strategic things. And I got the message through an Akashic Records practice session that I did with somebody, an exchange that we did for each other, that I'm not really doing anything incorrect. And I feel like this is actually going to lead right into today's topic in a way. The message was also that there are forces beyond my control that have kept my Instagram from growing. And I do not mean this to sound in any way as if it's a blame thing, like, oh, it's totally not my fault. But we'll get into how this lines up perfectly with today's topic. But that being said, really quickly, I just want to invite you to watch for that new one. I don't think I'm going to tear down my current one. I think I'm going to leave it. It's just not going to be active. So I'll make a post, and I'll also post in my stories when I'm switching over, so that if you would like to come with me, you can. Invite your friends. And also, if you're someone who I also follow, but I follow you first, hopefully you're aware of what I'm doing and you know that it's not like a spam account or, a copycat or something like that it is actually me or will be when that happens. Relatively soon, I just have a few ducks I want to align. How many more times can I say the word align? I have a few more ducks that I want to align before I launch the new one. But keep an eye out for that. The Energy Within Facebook group is still there. That's not changing. That's not going anywhere. So if you're not in that yet, please do. You'll find the link for my current Instagram and the Energy Within Facebook group in the show notes. So how does me starting a new Instagram relate to today's topic? So I was thinking about the difference between something bad happening because you're aligned with that frequency, or something bad happening because you're actively manifesting for something better. So it came to me that it has to be one or the other. I don't mean to minimize anything, so please don't take this in any other way other than an energetic descriptor of what's going on a grand scale. But if we know that in order to manifest something, and usually when we talk about manifesting something, we're usually thinking about abundance, prosperity, just good things in general that we want to bring into our lives. And that typically involves raising your vibration, raising your frequency. You want to align yourself with the frequency of whatever it is that you want, that typically is at a higher frequency than where you might be operating at currently. So it takes some work, it takes meditation, it takes energy work, it takes all of those things, focused intention, focused action, aligned action, inspired action, all of these things to get you to that frequency. And if you could see it, I'll try to remember to share it, but you can also probably Google it. There is a chart that will show you what frequency different emotions vibrate at. And you'll actually hear a little more chat about this in the interview that I have coming up in a couple weeks with Janessa Finley. We talked a little bit about frequency and where certain emotions lie, but not to get too far into that here, but things like guilt and shame and fear, anxiety, anger, they're all lower vibrations, lower frequencies. It doesn't mean bad. It just means they have a lower frequency. It's just like turning up the volume on the radio. It's either at a low volume or a high volume. Neither one is good or bad. Although, okay, too loud can be too bad. But you know what I'm getting at. Emotions like love and joy, enlightenment, things like that are all at the very top, super high frequencies. And I recently heard that the majority of us tend to operate from this frequency range. I forget the exact numbers, but it's pretty low. And it's right where fear and shame and guilt and anxiety and all of those emotions reside. So if that's our starting point, number one, try not to feel overwhelmed by how much higher you need to get your frequency to reach things like love and joy. Just start taking actions towards them because you can actually get there pretty quickly. You know how easy it is in certain cases. You can find the things that make you feel joy, and it can be instant, an instant mood change. So depending on what it is that you're dealing with, you can potentially raise your frequency pretty quickly. The issue becomes keeping your frequency there on, a more frequent basis. I need to choose my words better. I feel like my brain has been fogged up for a long time. I feel like I used to know more words. And I know they're still in there. They just don't come out when I need them. Anyway, but all that said, if we are operating at those lower frequencies, that's when we fall into these patterns where we feel like we just have, okay, I don't watch the show. I only know the reels, so don't come at me, Jess. A long string of very bad luck. We call it bad luck. We say that God or the universe or whoever hates us, it's out to get us, people are out to get us. We feel like things are so out of our control, and no matter what we do, bad things keep happening. I'm not saying this is always the case necessarily, but I'm starting to believe that the majority of the time, if not maybe all the time, it's not that you've intentionally done anything wrong or that you even have done anything wrong at all. It's more that you just keep operating in that lower frequency. And even if you rise out of it here and there, you default back to that. And you just happen to be aligning with these things that you've labeled as sucky or bad. And again, please don't take this as me minimizing anything tragic. I don't mean it that way. But just, maybe you keep losing job after job, or that can be tragic too, but you know what I mean. Hopefully you know what I mean. You keep getting minor injuries, like you're stubbing your toe left and right, or getting hit, or people are always being rude to you. You just can't seem to get the things that you want. And it's just sometimes feeling like one thing after another. It could be a case of just continually operating in this lower frequency and having a hard time, for whatever reason, getting out of it. This is not meant to be a lead-in for it, but let me just say that something like a Reiki session, perhaps even an Akashic Records session, can be something that can start to help pull you out of it, remove these blockages that are keeping your frequency stagnant and making it hard for you to move, and we'll get the energy flowing again. And particularly a Reiki session will get things flowing again and allow you to start to feel lighter and to feel better about yourself. There's a whole host of things that we can work on in a Reiki session. Every chakra deals with something different, and we can talk about that. You don't have to give me any more details than you want to, just enough for me to kind of have some guidance on what might need to be worked on, and then I can tell you what I see, and you can apply it however it makes sense to you. But anyway, the other part of it is when things that seem bad, that seem sucky, either just happen, like maybe something major happens, like you do lose your job, or another string of really bad luck seems to keep happening, but you know that you're doing the freaking work and you are actively manifesting something better, whatever that something is. And maybe you're even starting to see a little bit of evidence of it, even if it's not all the way there. Maybe you've gotten signs, or maybe like small rewards, for lack of a better word, that are proving to you that things are working, things are improving, you are raising your vibration. But I think in that case, it's because you're aligning yourself with the frequency of the things that you want. And that might mean that certain things have to happen in order for you to get that thing. Like maybe you're actively trying to manifest a better job, but you can't get yourself over the hump. Maybe you're not quite finding something, or maybe you did find something, but you're afraid to go for it. And God knows that the only way you're going to leap, the only way you're going to actually do it is by being forced out of your comfort zone. And if that's not something you're ready to hear, you don't have to accept that. But if and when you're ready for that message, there you go. You hear stories about that all the time. People saying things like this negative thing that happened was the catalyst for them finding their dream job, or starting their family or getting into their forever house, starting their business, whatever it is. That was that push that they needed. And it was because they aligned themselves in some way, consciously or unconsciously, with what they were wanting. And so the universe went to work bringing that in. And the reason I thought about it, nothing major has happened to me, but like little things keep breaking. Like my purse broke, my purse strap broke, and it made no logical sense the way that it broke. I don't know how to describe it to you so that you can know exactly, but there were these two metal pieces that were connected together that were holding the strap onto one end, or one end of the strap onto that end. And the way it was connected, like the little connector piece, extended beyond the hole that it went through. So there was no way you should have been able to tug it through, if that kind of makes sense. And all of a sudden, I'm in the parking lot of, I think, Target. And I'm putting stuff in the trunk, and my purse falls down. It was around my shoulders, and it just fell. I'm like, what the? And I picked it up, and I looked and saw how it had come apart, and I'm like, that's weird. And I had a really hard time getting these pieces back together. It still seemed weird to me how it broke, but I thought I at least had gotten it back together and it was fixed. Well, the next time I went to pick it up, it came apart again. And it still didn't make any logical sense how this ever would have come apart. I have clothes that I have had for way too long that have reached the point where they're actually starting to, I would almost say break, like not even fall apart, like break. And I won't go into details because they're sports bras, but shoes that don't fit me, that I know pregnancy apparently can make your feet grow a little bit, but I have other shoes that are the same size that still fit me. And these other shoes that I know used to fit me, and one of those pairs actually used to be slightly too big, for some reason don't fit me anymore. It doesn't make any sense when the other shoes that I have that are the same size still fit me. Anyway, then I promise I'm not going to go into a whole rant, but just a couple more, one or two more things. I had this little shelf thing that I had been using as kind of like a little storage area for some of my shoes. And I was organizing some things, and where that shelf had gotten moved to in the meantime was no longer against the wall. It was in the middle of this room, and I was next to it, and I kept leaning over it. Now, this was partially my fault. Okay, mostly my fault, but it still didn't make any sense. I kept leaning over it to grab things, like I think I was folding clothes, and I was leaning over to grab clothes and then fold them and put them away. And one of the times I leaned over, I swear I did not put that much of my body weight onto it, but all of a sudden the thing just went and it broke apart in a way that was unfixable. And that's the thing. It's not even that things are breaking. It's like, oh, I can fix this. It's unfixable ways that things are breaking. And I have other evidence on the flip side that things are going well. They're not still where I would like them to be exactly, but they're going well. So that says to me that I must be aligning with that higher frequency of the things that I want. And the universe is telling me I need to get rid of all this old stuff that I've been hanging on to. Things that are either way past their prime or things that I'm actually probably never going to wear again. Like I have this really cute pair of sparkly shoes, but I'm past the point of wearing super high heels. So I knew I was never going to wear them again. The last time I wore them, I felt a little uncomfortable, not exactly wobbly, but a little uncomfortable. And so I was probably never going to wear them again. So same thing with my Instagram. I have been putting a lot of effort, particularly into Reels, trying to get my account to grow. Because if you do anything with Instagram, if you know anything about it, you're maybe in it for a business purpose, and you've probably heard over and over again that Instagram favors Reels right now. They always have some kind of post that they favor and that they'll push more. And Reels has been the thing for a long time. And I would make some here and there, but I wasn't super consistent about it. But I could still get a decent amount of likes, a pretty good amount of views. Some went, 10K and above, not many, but a few. And then I fell off the wagon. And then I made a decision to get consistent with it. I had also heard that about 90 days, not 30 days, but about 90 days of consistency is when people would start to really see significant growth. Well, granted, I missed a couple days here and there, but not many. I lost count. I'm over 100 days of 99% consistent reels with a couple random static posts in there as well. And literally nothing has changed. The number of followers hasn't changed. The amount of engagement hasn't changed. The number of views hasn't changed. And the number of views is, I don't say this to whine or complain, I promise, but the amount of views my reels get is pathetically low. And I hate to admit that out loud on a podcast, but it's true. And I don't know why. I know, I'll admit, I've got probably some work I can do to make my reels that much better, work on my lighting probably. I got to figure out how to make my pale self not look so washed out. Natural lighting is not the option. I feel like I've been getting better with editing and transitions and things like that. I haven't made many, but I've started to make a couple original ones. A couple of them did a little better than the other ones that were lip syncs, but I'm still like literally stuck. And I kept getting signs recently that my next option may be to just start over and see what happens from there. I kept seeing, I wasn't searching for them, but they just were popping up in my feed randomly. Or I'd be scrolling through reels and come across a reel that were signs on basically when your account is dead and you should start over. And they would give things to look for, like a symptom list or something. And I was checking off most of those boxes. So, but the thing is, if we get all the way back to my original point about getting the message that something outside was keeping my Instagram from growing. And I have also, in a different context, been talking with a couple of my friends about everything. And I keep mentioning, and it does keep coming up, and I'm also getting these messages to dive back into some of these Marketing Impact Academy lessons, to do the branding deck again, and really get more focused, more clear, a little bit more niche. And that making this switch then would be what forces me to do that work. Maybe getting pushed to start a new Instagram is what I needed to light the fire under my butt to do the things I know I need to do to get clear, rather than this slow journey to clarity that I've been on. Like, I'm getting more and more clarity as I go, but it's been slow. So maybe if I speed that up, it'll filter into everything else. So I hope in saying this all publicly that when I do make the new Instagram, that everything that I'm thinking proves to be correct and that things don't just stay stagnant again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I am aligning with my highest timeline and the highest frequency right now. So I share this to hopefully inspire you, lift you up a little bit, especially if you've been in a period in your life where you feel like you're just getting hit with negative after negative, block after block, things just sucking left and right, no matter what you do. Hopefully this prompts you to at least take a look. The great news is, no matter which one it is, whether it's that you just seem to be aligned with that frequency, or you're actively manifesting, so the universe is doing the things to help you manifest that fully, you're in control of both of them. You're co-creating with the universe. So do the things to get in alignment with what you want. Do the energy work. Come for a Reiki session. Do the meditations. Pray. Talk to God. Talk to whatever guides and angels and whoever that is your spiritual support team, whatever name you have for that. It's always going to be God for me and Jesus and my angels. But go in and ask for help. We always talk about that idea that, well, the fact that we have free will and therefore we have to ask for help. And then we have stories of like our angels intervening. And I think it's the same thing, that we are actively manifesting certain things. So that's all part of the universe going to work to manifest that. So if that means keeping us safe from something, then they'll jump in, because in a way, by you aligning your frequency, you've kind of asked for help. So they're going to support you in getting to that frequency and calling those things in. One last quick example, actually, before I wrap this up. I just this weekend went to yoga again. I haven't been to a yoga class in a long time. And I've been feeling very stressed, very physically tired and sore. So I figured it was about time that I went to a yoga class. And in this particular class, I cried. And I have never cried in a yoga class before. I've heard of it happening to people, of this release happening and the emotions coming up. And I understood how it could happen, but I just didn't completely get it because it had never happened to me. And part of me was like, I want that to happen. And it just wouldn't happen. I would go to yoga, I would get the stretch and the relaxation, and it would be great. But that would be it. And I had like a full-on blubbering release. I kept it quiet, so hopefully no one noticed. Aside from a few moments of me wiping my eyes with a Kleenex, but I was, off in a corner. The front corner, but off in a corner. And it was a lot of hip opening stretches, and that's where your root and your sacral are, and that's your stability, your safety, security, relationships, creativity, family. All of that stuff is contained and affected in that area. So when you do those kinds of stretches and poses, it can help to release all of that. And I clearly needed that release. And like the music just got to me. The teacher had a message about manifesting abundance that I needed to hear in that moment, and it was just perfect. And then I posted in the Energy Within Facebook group about it, and one of my friends, Ashley Carey, commented on it and said, "Hey, remember you asked for this?" And I had completely forgotten that a couple days prior, in her group, she had mentioned that she was going to be doing this in-person full moon, I think it was a full moon. I haven't been paying attention because I haven't been doing my own group Reiki around it, and hopefully I'll do that again soon. But that's a side point. This Reiki circle that she was doing, she was going to also open it up if any of us had anything that we wanted her to put into the fire, like write it down and put into the fire during this ceremony to be released. So I left a comment about the things that I wanted to release, a lot of them being around stress and worry and fear of failure, all happening right around this time when I'm, considering taking the leap, which is a little scary, into starting a new Instagram. Doesn't sound like it should be something that's scary, but it is. You're starting completely over after you've tried so hard to build what you do have. And I went back and I looked and I'm like, oh my God, I asked for this release and I got it just a couple days later. So that for me is proof that I must be aligning with the things that I'm asking for, and maybe my manifestations are happening quicker. Maybe the reel I made with the Shark Tank music where I was walking as if I was on Shark Tank, and then the caption was something to the effect of, on my way to ask the universe for signier signs and faster manifestations. That was just a few days ago too. So maybe it's all coming together. So I still have work to do. I still have things to release and blocks to work on and things to figure out and work to do. But hopefully, what I've shared can inspire you to find that evidence of things either going your way or that can go your way in your own life. That is where I will leave it. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it. Take a screenshot, do a screen flow, post it to your social media, and tag me. Let me know what your favorite part was, what stuck out to you. And also feel free to let me know what you would like more of. And again, if you are not in the Energy Within Facebook group, make sure you find the link and you jump in and join, and just make sure that you answer the questions so that I know that you are a real person and not some kind of spammy creeper dude or something. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.